Hey everybody, welcome to Dad Talk. Today we are in Rapid City, South Dakota at Freedom Fest 2021. I'm sitting here with Mr. Eric Gemelli. Eric, how you doing?
I'm well.
Yeah, man. So it's been a great weekend. I just learned about your company, learntoinvest.co. Check this out, guys. And I'm going to tell you why you need to look at this company. And me and Eric was talking a little bit a couple of days ago, and I found out you're no stranger to these issues.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. So, but you've gotten beyond that. You've made a very good living for yourself, but at one point it wasn't so good. Tell us a little bit about your story here.
yeah, I've done both the highs and lows. So, I had the big house on the mountain. We actually had a golf tee. We'd bang balls down in the valley below. I'd pay the kids a nickel to go fetch the balls. Sometimes that turned into skeet shooting. At parties, we'd shoot skeet out into the valley below. So it was a lot of fun. I'm gonna confess on myself. I had a pretty big ego, and kind of like my story is a lot like Joseph of Egypt. Remember the Joseph of coat of
Yeah.
many colors? He's sold into slavery by his family. A lot of us guys have been sold into slavery by our family, right?
Yeah.
Our our wife, our spouse said, made an oath to God at some point that they were gonna, honor and love us, and then go into court, at least in my case, and just lie. Probably most of the people watching this know divorce court is it's a child support is a mathematical calculation, and if you put the wrong numbers in, you get the wrong number out. I was pretty prosperous. My ex hid all the money got hidden, a couple $1 million, and you can do that. It's kind of like OJ, hide it in life insurance.
Right.
So she hid it, completely prevaricated is the polite word, lied about what she was making, what I was making. This was 2001 when the financial industry just collapsed, and I went back to painting houses. So I'd made a good living, but I wasn't, and I was honestly working hard. So there was no reason to impute income, but she also lied about what she was making. Bottom line, I walked out of divorce court owing 100% of what I made.
Eric, not to cut your story right there, but let me ask you a question. If that was you that had hidden money and that was you that had lied about your income, where would we be right now?
It'd be fraud, right?
Yeah.
It is fraud. And I think the county was an accomplice to fraud. Worse than that, I had her testifying on a recorded call that she was abusing the kids. I've personally seen her with one held up by the neck to the wall where she's beating them with electric cord. I'm just going to go gender neutral here because I don't want to have any of my kids stand out. One was repeatedly beaten with an electric cord, and it resulted in a decade of drug abuse. That's a choice this child has made at this point. Right now they're an adult, but they're also didn't learn the coping and all that stuff that we learned as kids. So I talked to actually a pretty famous psychologist. He wrote about the boy crisis. So Dr. Farrell.
Dr. Fair, that's my friend.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you do know him. That's right.
Yes,
You
sir.
said that. Well, he said somewhere in the first 50 pages that 66% of kids that are abused end up abusing drugs. They end up as addicts. So what a shame. And the court was an accessory to this. Just was not an intelligent. I was an eyewitness. I told the court. I turned in the tape recording. And I'll admit that I handled it poorly. Like the whole court case. I tried to. I made an oath to my wife that I was going to love her, and I thought the most loving thing was she let her get psychological help. She didn't. She promised to, but didn't, and I should have known better. There's a bunch of things I should have done differently. But I also, so I've been there with you guys. I lived out of my friend's extra bedroom, probably till about 12 years ago. I've gotten my groceries out of a food pantry. And for a guy who thought he was a hot shot because he was worth a couple $1 million, that was very humbling. And that's part of what I needed to go through is, I don't want to say it was right because it was wrong, right? She's immoral. But on the other hand, I also had lessons that I need to learn. I'm super happy to say that, I've worked my way out of that hole. We're sitting we're both at the Freedom Fest, and I have a booth here. This article is, I predicted. I'm a market analyst. I predict a lot of famous events, and often make in a year what people try to accumulate in 10 years. You travel all the time for work, for getting this word out, and I love what you do, which is why I chose to sponsor. I travel for fun. I started the year, I've had 17 weeks of travel in 8 months, and it's almost all for fun. So, I started the year 2 weeks in Puerto Rico. I took up surfing a couple years ago. When there's no waves to surf, you can go diving. I mean, it's just a fun place.
Right.
I'm landlocked, so to be in seafood, around so much seafood, and it's fun for me. Just finished my third surf trip to California, third surf trip of the year. 18 days, hiking in the Sierras, hanging out in Mammoth, going up to a friend's cottage. I mean, just one of my trips most people would love to do in a year, and I got 8 or 10 of them, just all packed together. So I'm super fortunate, and I like sharing that with people. I can feed myself just on what I make trading. If people want, a lot of people don't have the money to go trade. I'm expensive. But I did want to give people the kind of a stock tip, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're talking, in July of 2021. So these things kind of hang out there forever. So, timeliness is always a factor. But I've been researching a gold mining company. It's out of production. There's a banner right there behind your head. I just tell people about it for free. They can buy in or not. If they had $100 or a couple hundred, it might make a meaning. Right now, today, the stock is right around 2 cents. So for a little bit of money, they can get a lot of shares. And they're out of production. Being a finance guy, when my perception is when companies get back into production, they start making revenue. Profits lead. Revenue leads to profit. Profit leads to higher stock.
Right.
There's a reasonable chance the stock goes to 8 cents or more, just when when the company announces.
Right.
There's a million delays. There's a lot of reasons not to do it. You are taking a risk. You're totally speculating, but I think it's going to do something. I manage a charity and bought a big block for that charity, like millions of shares.
Awesome.
So I'm convinced. Anyway, I just thought. But the nice thing is, sometimes this pain is for purpose. There was another guy here who's running a charity, and he said when he became grateful for the pain, that's when his life turned around. He was in jail 6 times. He was an addict also. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but he's saying that's his story.
But absolutely, I believe everything we go through is for a reason, and I've actually talked about that on the show several times. Turn your pain into purpose. There was times, Eric, that I went through a divorce. They had an affair on me. Somebody stole all the money out of my banking account. I had a complete tear in my ACL. I wasn't at work, so I wasn't getting paid. I'm in a wheelchair, and all of this happens at once. And I'm sitting there, like, screaming at God, like, why would you make me just to experience something like this? Now that I've been doing Dad Talk, and these guys will be coming to me, telling me their issues, I'll hear somebody, oh, she had an affair on me. Man, I don't have money. My money, they stole it. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I get it now. I was to go through that so that I could help these.
Be here.
So I could help these other guys, and everybody that goes through these experiences are for a reason. Use it to empower others. That's what life is about. But there's something I can relate to. Am I 20?
Can I jump on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's another good thing is what you're going to learn about yourself. Right now, you're just probably furious. I couldn't sleep at night because I'd sleep 2 to 4 hours, just like panicked about how I was going to pay bills. Furious that I was betrayed, just like you were. You learn about a reservoir of strength that you did not even know that you have. And you know what? It's a horrible way to learn, but somebody gave you a gift too. Because when you learn that resilience, that you can go out and you're the comeback kid, right?
Right.
It's amazing what you can do.
So there's something you were saying. We haven't talked about this, but I think we're going to be able to relate. And when I heard you say it, it's like I got to go there. In my 20s, like I was a big rock and roll guy. I loved rock and roll. By the time I was in my 20s, I was working with all of my idols. I've worked with the guys from Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and Skid Row, and that's what I listened to growing up. My ego was so big, it could not fit through the door.
Right.
And that's why I try to stay away from compliments sometimes, because I knew what that was like. I got involved in drugs, and I crashed. And when I crashed hard. And I became the normal dad, working the 9 to 5, which was what I had never wanted to be. But I was so excited to be that guy, just to be normal. But I would make in one night what I was making a month when I went to go work this job. Some of the worst jobs you could possibly have. It humbled me.
Yeah.
It humbled me, and that ego was completely vanished very quickly. You was talking about your ego, and then having to go live with your friend. Did that kind of bring that ego down for you a little bit?
Not fast enough, apparently, because it was a very long period, like close to 10 years.
Yeah.
So, but eventually. And, you know, and I still work through it. I mean, I don't know. It seems like guys have to keep fighting that.
Well, it's easy to get caught up in it. You know, I think we're competitive by nature and stuff too. And then when we get our passion behind something, you want to be the best. You know, but be the best in helping people along the way. And there's nothing wrong with being good at what you do. But I was just curious about that. You talking
Yeah,
about
so
that.
the ego was an issue. I think that was probably a big piece. I have, this sounds bizarre to a lot of people, but I have prophetic friends. You know, they record just like this.
Yeah.
And they're documented what they're saying, and it comes true. And I look, I don't know, 50. And one of the things they said is, you got you're a rock rolling down the stream, and God's knocking the rough edges off you. One of the things that gave me hope was, they said my message was that I would be like Joseph and just help a bunch of people in the future. And it's kind of my career. I feel like the economy is gonna, like, we're modern day Rome. We're topping out, just like, that's one of the reasons I use that Roman coin, if you can see it behind your head. We're modern day Rome, and I think we're topping out. And going into a slide is also one of the reasons I'm such a big fan of the right gold stock. Silver in 2016 moved 50%. The stock that I recommended to my readers, I published a newsletter, moved 800%.
Oh, wow.
So the right stock will move exponentially farther than the underlying metal. So a lot of people think there's a Bank of America says gold will go to 3,000. So a lot of people think there's going to be a big move coming. The right mining stock could just go nuts.
So Eric, for anybody that's really
I didn't
not...
tell them this. I didn't tell them this, how to find.
Oh,
So
yeah.
no, the ticker.
Okay.
So that gold mine, again, this is totally on you. You know, I'm just some guy talking here on video, but I believe in enough that I bought massive positions. F as in Frank, M as in Mary, N for Nancy, J Julius. That's called the ticker symbol. It's publicly traded. It's actually the oldest publicly traded gold mining company in the country. But they fell out of production. This is public information. None of us gets in trouble for acting on this. I've seen pictures on Twitter, FMNJ 1864, of the equipment that's about to get shipped down there. So I believe it's going to get put back in production, and it ought to make a difference.
Yeah.
Generally it would. So I'm sorry I interrupted
No,
you.
so if you was one of these guys, maybe they don't know anything about the stock market, they don't know where to invest, the importance of it, and knowing now what maybe you didn't know then, what is some advice you could give to them?
About markets?
About markets, getting involved in this, and how to kind of educate themselves on how to get involved with it.
Sure. Boy, it's a lot of things. Like Robinhood is out there, but you can't buy this stock on it. You have to have like a bigger broker, like Ameritrade or Schwab or E-Trade, and most of them will let you do an account for $500. I always just believe in saving a little, even if you make some mistakes. Like, what if this, give this a year, but even if it blows up, you're going to learn some things by doing it. It's such a broad question. I think I had some ideas about advice earlier. I think keep plugging. What's your alternative? My kids have been alienated against me. The mom told them that I abandoned them, which is the opposite. She kicked me out of the house.
Yeah.
You know, and we were talking off camera just with another person here. Just they find out eventually. So it's easy to be bitter. All this, I guess, embrace the lessons. Maybe find the people that are super close to you. Like I have friends going back 40 years at this point. Back then, say over 20. Hey, what am I missing? What lesson do you, let's say we've been friends for 20 years. What lesson should I be seeing? If you got somebody close enough, they'll probably tell you.
Yeah.
Family member who cares about you, they will.
If you get one of these alienators, though, and I warn these guys all the time, if they start keeping away from your family, your friends, that's their first red flag, because they want to keep the people that can speak to you and say, hey, you're messing up. They want them out of there, because that's how they get that ultimate control. Wanted to throw that is so critical, and it's often overlooked. But Eric, this is the first time we met this past weekend, and just to see, it's good to somebody that's seen it from the outside. A lot of times, this community don't see what I'm doing here because they're not here. They just see
Well,
what
so
little bits
appreciate
is
it.
on the screen.
Right.
I mean, I have a random person, an exhibitor, just sitting there telling me he's been through it. He's alienated. And I've had these conversations all weekend long.
I heard the conversation.
Yeah, and that's some of the stuff, like, if they don't see it, they don't believe it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, this is such a common thing that people are going through, and everybody that you talk to, these conversations were planting seeds.
The assistant district attorney is an accomplice to child abuse.
Yeah.
I told her, I gave her evidence, and she's like, I don't want to hear it. The judge, there was no reason for the judge to not know that my ex was lying about what she was making. Right? The evidence was all there. She just chose not to.
Yeah.
So ultimately, we need guys like you who are helping to help the system.
Well, we can put their feet to the fire, too. You're being watched.
Right.
There's never been any real media that says, hey, if you go and you keep making this corrupt system bigger and bigger, like, we're watching you. I have had some attorney generals on, and I kill them with kindness because I can believe we can have conversations. I'd rather have an ally than an enemy, right?
Absolutely.
And sometimes people can change. They don't realize what they're feeding into. And that's our job, is to mobilize and get out there and do it. We've had this stereotype painted of us, the angry deadbeat dad that just doesn't want to pay child support. You seem like a pretty loving father.
Thank you.
The gentleman I talked to over there seems like a pretty loving father, and these guys
I
are
think so too.
heartbroken.
You could hear his heart as he talked. He just wants to be with his kids. But the court actually messed up. A guy like me, I made a fortune as a trader, and by taking my money away, not giving me access to it, I can bless my kids way more when I'm doing what I'm good at than painting a house. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Nothing about, I was grateful for it, and it was actually healing to just go make something ugly beautiful. I was grateful for the income and the work, but, I can go make a lot more investing, and then my ex would have, a just claim on that income instead of lying.
Well, and they claim it's about the best interest of the child. It's about the best interest of their pocketbooks. It is in their best interest to make sure you get the least amount of time, pay the maximum amount, because that percentage of that money goes back to the state off the Title 4D. And that's not been on the mainstream media either. People don't know that, guess what? They make money off of child support. It doesn't just go to your ex. They need that to keep that machine running. And I've talked to some of the attorney generals on that too. It is shameful. I can think of so many other ways I'd rather make money in this world than to know it came from profiting off of destructing families. And they've done it.
I just testified in court for somebody, and I haven't heard the outcome yet. This was last week, and his attorney thinks this guy, he's starting a new business, and I'm involved in it, which is why I was brought into the deal. He's working his hiney off. It was actually government that got in the way in giving us permits. He's been working as hard as he can. He will be prosperous because the business is now opened, and it's for this stage of the game, we're thriving.
Right.
He'll make a lot of money, but it also may cripple him, this child support, because at the moment he's working but not getting an income. If she would just get out of the way, we'd have 3 locations open, and she'd have, a just claim against a big number instead of faking. She's faking like she's a waitress. She says she makes $100 a month in tips. It's probably that much a night. Come on.
And let's be honest, like, even if there's child support, what is reasonable child support? We should have some caps. Why is it based upon a percentage of your paycheck? I thought we were talking about the child's needs here. There's people that are making careers off of this. I got a buddy down in Atlanta, makes $225,000 a year. After alimony and child support, every week he brings home $25. I know you said they was taking 100% a year.
I asked the judge, can you make me exempt from taxes? She said, I have a lot of authority, but I can't do that. But it hit home like she's literally, when I say all, I mean give all the money you make to your ex and then figure out how to pay taxes on money you just gave away.
Yeah.
You guys, I've been through this conversation maybe 1,000 times, and everybody said, what? How can that be? And because there's lies put into the court system, and then they just keep quoting themselves. It's this bizarre system where they quote themselves, and so they're not further lying, they're just quoting the original lie.
Yeah.
It's just nutty.
Well, guys, and I think this is an amazing success story, Eric. I mean, you experienced it, you came back. Learn, number 2, invest.co. Guys, check this out. And Eric, I'll admit, I don't know much about the market and some of this stuff myself. And what you've told me has been very valuable information. And it's really hard to rebuild. There's only so much work a guy can do in a day. So if we can learn to invest and plant those seeds, guys, eventually.
Yeah, you multiply.
Yeah.
So Franklin Mining Inc. is the company that I'm thrilled with. So it looks to me like it's going to do something.
And I'll stay in contact with Eric, and every once in a while we get some tips. We'll make sure to bring them to you. But hey, man, it was so good to meet you. I believe everybody meets people for a reason, and I believe we was meant to bump into each other. And thank you for sharing a little bit of your story today.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys. Just be encouraged. Good luck. I know it's hard, but this isn't the end of the story either, right? So go get it. We're men.
That's right. See you guys later. Hey everybody, Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us. Like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also super chats, patreon.com/dadtalktoday, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.